What's up, everybody? Today we are in downtown Loveland. This is a new development, the Foundry, and we are in northern Colorado, but today we've got with us Zach Jordan and Connor Martin on the Soukup real estate team, and we're going to talk to you about different things about downtown Loveland, things to do, education, housing prices, and maybe why one would choose Loveland over Fort Collins. And while I do know Loveland quite well, I bought my first house here in 2012. These guys, while not necessarily born and raised here, have spent many, many years here, so they're gonna probably be taking you through more detailed information and more pertinent and relative and first-hand knowledge than I could. As much as I like making these YouTube videos for real estate, we are licensed real estate agents here in Fort Collins and northern Colorado. So give us a call, text, email if you are considering moving to northern Colorado. We've got your back. Whether that be Zach or Connor, the team at Soukup Real Estate Services would love to help. So we are going to be vlogging today all about downtown Loveland. So Connor, talk to us about some of the things there are to do here in downtown Loveland. Let's go.
Well guys, this is definitely the city of my heart. I love Loveland, Colorado. I am not born here, wasn't raised here. I have lived up in Montana, lived in Kansas, lived in Connecticut. So I got a pretty good expectation of what I'm looking for in a town. And by far, Loveland hits 90% of the checkpoints on that. First thing off is that Loveland is becoming a very fun town with amazing restaurants in the downtown area, on the outskirts, and it's just a little bit easier to get in. So one of the best things I like about here versus Fort Collins is you don't have to sit and wait for 2 hours to go to a restaurant on a Friday night. If all the restaurants are in Fort Collins are just jam-packed, come down to Loveland here. We have Henry's Pub, we have Door 222, we have the Rear of the Steer. You know, downtown Loveland has so many opportunities for food and fun that I can't even begin to start a list for you guys on that side. Another big benefit of living here in Loveland, Colorado as well is just the proximity we have to everything, from our proximity to I-25 to get down to Denver. You know, you're looking at an hour. If you got to do a lot of traveling to DIA and out of the state or out of the country, we are only 40 minutes from DIA. You know, if you're a big fan of Fort Collins, you know, one of my biggest things is I don't like living where I go to have fun. You know, I like being a little bit away from it, maybe a place that's a little quieter. And Loveland offers that quietness, but it also offers the fun around it and in it. So you're only 20 minutes to Fort Collins, where you can go downtown and enjoy the college life that everyone who looks up YouTube videos for real estate or looks up northern Colorado, everybody is pointed towards that Fort Collins area. Well, being 20 minutes away, or even closer depending on where you live in Loveland, that gives you the opportunity to be able to enjoy it, but get to go home at night and enjoy the peace and quiet of Loveland and what it offers. You know, that to me is a huge deal. Being close to colleges like CSU, UNC, you know, being able to have that college life so close is something that, you know, not many people get to have that opportunity. And so Loveland is definitely the place to be on that side. I'm gonna pass it over to Zach now. I'm gonna let him talk about a few more fun things that you can do here in Loveland, Colorado. And he has been a long time, he's lived here longer than I have, and so I know he's got to watch this town grow up and got to really see where it came from and to where we are now.
Like they said, I'm Zach, and I've been here for 30 years. I'm only 26, so you guys do the math. Anyway, the growth that we've had over the last 30 years is just incredible. We cater to everyone now, younger families. We cater to younger crowds that want to go out, things to do. Right now we're actually standing in a new development, the Foundry. It's 4 acres right here in downtown. There's living, there's ground level restaurants. We have axe throwing right here. We have the bistro movie theater right here. Studio B hair salon behind us, Mobetta. There's live music every Wednesday and Friday throughout the summer. We hold the Corn Roast Festival down here. This is kind of the central hub that they're creating to create this atmosphere and this sense of community for Loveland with walking distance. And with that being said, this was just kind of the first place that they invested their money into. It was a $76 million project that they funded, and it was to kind of set the bar of this is what we're looking for, this is what we're going for, and now everybody's trying to keep up here in Loveland. So there's another project going in on 4th Street and Lincoln right now as we speak, and they're bulldozing an old property building and creating a new space there to accommodate housing, living, and ground floor restaurant stuff as well, similar to the Foundry. But one thing I really like about down here with all these festivals and everything else is we kind of lose out on that college atmosphere, so we can still have that fun without all those college kids.
It's professional fun.
Professional fun is what we like to call it. I know myself in college, and I had a little more fun than I probably should have, but I still get to have fun on a weekly basis here in Loveland. Different exposure to all different kinds of things, and I mean, our restaurant and food scene is just blowing out of control down here. I mean, we have 4 breweries in downtown Loveland, walking distance. Backyard Tap, we have the Tap House. I mean, we have fine dining for as far as the 4th Street Chop House, and I mean, all the way down to casual Vato's Tacos and just grabbing a bite before hearing a concert. So honestly, we don't need to travel too far or venture away from our hometown to get what we're looking for and have exposure to everything.
So here we are at the Black Steer, or AKA the rear of the steer. This is a great little burger joint to be able to come down to, steak joint to be able to enjoy if you ever come down to Loveland for an exploration. We are just right now in a parking lot that also has probably one of my favorite coffee shops, Dark Heart, here in downtown Loveland. And we also have some apartments behind us. The main thing I wanted to talk about on this part of it was going to be school districts. So when people move here, half the time, the majority of what people are asking is what are the schools like in Loveland? Now, what I can say, especially because this is for a Fort Collins channel, and probably you were looking at Fort Collins before ever looking at Loveland, is the fact that Loveland might not have as top tier schools as Fort Collins does, but we are very close behind and getting better every year as more and more people move here, and we start bringing in more and more taxes as we come here to be able to feed these schools and make them nicer, newer, more updated. So right now we have 27 public schools here in Loveland. We have 9 private schools here in Loveland. So there's a lot of options to go after. And you know, the one downside might be is a lot of the private schools here are going to be some type of religious base, but that is also a good positive as well. But if you are looking for a true private school or anything like that, you also have the option of driving 15 to 20 minutes over to Fort Collins to some of those really top end schools if that's truly what your desire is. So if you guys are looking here and you guys would want some of the top schools, the top 3 schools is going to be Loveland's Classical School, which is on the west side of Loveland. You're going to have Thompson Valley, which is more on the north side. And then you have Loveland Charter School. So Loveland does have a lot of options for schools here. You know, sports wise, you know, I'm a big sports guy. I was baseball, basketball, soccer, tennis. And I never got to live anywhere where sports were that prevalent. Living in Montana, we were all kind of junky up there. So I don't have much to say about Loveland, but from what I've heard from my twin sister who has worked with the high school programs up here, she has mentioned that if you really want a competitive sports team, Fort Collins is the way to go. They definitely are the top tier in terms of sports, but Loveland has a great education system. If you want your kid to be able to participate in sports, this is also a great secondary option towards Fort Collins. And so if that's really what you're looking for, a little more laid back, more enjoyable, easy to get to access wise, quick driving around here, you know, that's definitely the place for Loveland. So if you're thinking about schools, don't let that misjudge your idea of what Loveland is. You know, go in, go talk to the parents, go talk to some of the students in this area, and they'll truly tell you what the honest opinion is, because no offense, I don't really trust reviews online, because those are typically the individuals that just don't like the place or really like the place. You don't get the true honest opinion of what the average person here is living and what they truly go through with the schools and with teachers and everything like that. So please, if you guys ever have a choice, take that 15-minute drive from Fort Collins, come over here to Loveland, and we'll show you guys a fun time, a safe place, and some really cool houses at a fraction of the price of what Fort Collins has to offer. So we are going to drop it over to Zach right now, and he's going to give you the down low on what houses look like here in Loveland, Colorado.
Boom. So in my opinion, Loveland is the new place, the new up and coming. You want to get ahead of the curve, you want to save some money, this is where you want to be. On average, you can save about 10% for the same house, same everything that you're gonna get in Fort Collins, and get ahead of the curve here and make a statement. You wanna be part of this downtown, you want to get ahead of the game and have your long-term investment be an investment instead of a money pit. Plenty of opportunity for that. We can cater to single family homes. We have loft living. We have tear downs, scrapes that you can buy and begin there. On the outskirts of Loveland, we kind of have tons of new build just because we have so much open space. Great opportunity if you wanted to live in a downtown space and build your own new home. There are less obstacles to overcome here in downtown Loveland to buy one of these older properties with a large lot, scrape it, and build from the ground up of what you'd like. Being able to have access to water and not having all those barriers to entry for that new build is going to give you this great opportunity to grow with downtown Loveland. So now that we talked about a few things like scraping the small lot down here in Loveland and building your dream home in downtown, having this downtown urban feel. We've talked about the festivals, Barbecue Fest, Honey Fest, the Corn Fest, everything that was kind of available down here. The breweries, one of my favorites, the eating opportunities, if you're a foodie. We are going to do a direct comparison of Fort Collins and Loveland to see why choose Loveland.
Well, we're ending the vlog today at Loveland Sports Station, American Grill. Cheers into a beer, because I think if you are in Fort Collins or Loveland, you know, actually, I was talking to some clients that were coming from Austin, Texas, and they weren't real huge, you know, beer drinkers or people who drink alcohol. And I don't think you necessarily have to be. There is definitely a culture around that here in Northern Colorado. So if it's something that you enjoy, there is no shortage of options. And that's for Fort Collins or Loveland. We were actually gonna go to like a backdoor brewery. Is that what it's called? Yep. Backdoor brewery before this, but it's only it opens at 4 p.m. on the weekdays. But as kind of Zach and Connor talked to you guys about, you know, there's different reasons why somebody would move to Fort Collins versus Loveland, or Loveland versus Fort Collins. And that's what we're gonna kind of finish off with, is what these guys are gonna talk to you about, what benefits it would be to move to Loveland versus Fort Collins. You know, because as you guys have seen on the videos that I post, it's pretty much Fort Collins based, with discussions on different surrounding areas: Timnath, Windsor, Wellington, Loveland, Johnstown, and you know, all of that is considered Northern Colorado, Greeley. But today we're focusing on Loveland, walk you guys around. So I'm gonna hand it over to Zach, and which I love seeing his face, you know, seeing that we're gonna finish off with Zach. But again, it's different reasons why somebody might move to Fort Collins versus Loveland. But talk to us, Zach, about maybe some key points why somebody might move to Fort Collins or Loveland.
So why you wouldn't move to Fort Collins is because you have Loveland, would be the first key point. And if you want that small community feel, everybody close, knowing, hey, there's my neighbor, hey, there's my teacher, let's go play some ball later. You want to be in Loveland and you can still get that urban feel. Our downtown is up and coming and growing. We are right behind Fort Collins and all the trends. They kind of set it for us, and we see what fails, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and kind of build from there. So we get all the good restaurants, we get everything, because if it didn't work up there, it's not going to work here type thing.
What about, you know, so population is 86,000 versus 180,000, so you're at a much smaller community.
Much smaller.
But lots of cool development. Like, I would say, what do you think, 10 to 20 years behind Fort Collins? Like 10 years maybe?
I'd say 10, no more than 15 years behind Fort Collins.
So it's a good opportunity for, like, it's, you know, I think it's a good opportunity for investments. And as far as, you know, a placement of your dollar, you have a 10% discount comparatively to Fort Collins. School systems are absolutely something to consider, whether it's Thompson Valley versus Poudre School Districts. It's something that you are going to explore when you're doing your research. Zach graduated from Thompson Valley, and that's like a clear sign of like why you should not go to Thompson Valley or, you know, Thompson School District. But and I'm a graduate of the Poudre School District, so it's like literally, it's just so much difference you can tell. But no, I think in reality,
one point to touch on that. Connor was speaking about sports earlier with Fort Collins.
Yeah.
And I would just like to mention that both Pat and I are D1 scholarship athletes for track and field at CSU, and I came from the Thompson School District. Pat came from the Poudre School District,
right.
So we know what we're doing, and we still have that. I've been coaching for 11 years strong here in the Thompson District, and we're producing top-end athletes every year. Yeah. So just wanted to note on that, Connor.
That's fair. So, and honestly, and in reality, like the school districts are lucky to have folks like Zach who really, pour into the school. I can't believe he's done it for as long as he has, really, because it is a huge time commitment, and definitely is something that's very, very respectable that what Zach does. And the kids are very lucky because he is, like you said, a Division I athlete that's coming back and giving back to school, giving back to kids, which is really, I think, one of the things that Northern Colorado, the general consensus when people move here is that they want to pour into the communities. How can they get involved? What can they do to be a part of the area? Not be a leech to the system, but be somebody who comes in and brings their value, whether that be, tech jobs or their ideas about, volunteer work, everything like that. So we are very lucky that a lot of the people that are moving here to Northern Colorado, whether it's Fort Collins or Loveland, are pretty top notch. But, Connor is definitely somebody who is dealing with a lot of clients from all over the country, and a lot of them moving to Loveland. So I'll let him kind of finish us off with his outro of our vlog in Loveland.
Yeah, so just on point, because these guys were D1 athletes, whoop-de-doo on that side. I mean, that's just cool. I was a terrible athlete. I just played 8 different sports, so I kind of know what I think I'm talking about. Track's not even really a sport at this point. But, again, I love both Fort Collins and Loveland. I like Loveland more because I'm a quiet dude. I don't need a bunch of people who are out, being around each other all the time. I'm not as social probably as, say, Patrick or Zach is. And so when I get to Loveland, when I go work in Fort Collins a good chunk of my time, and then I come back to Loveland, and that's the place I get to relax. So I get to go out and have fun in Fort Collins and do that. But if you want, so for me, I lived in Baser, Kansas. I lived in Bozeman, Montana when it was small. I lived in Elizabeth, Colorado. I lived in Hartford, Connecticut. And out of all those places in towns that I lived in, the biggest thing that I liked was being able to have that small town feel, but also being able to actually have something to go do. It's not just like Kansas where you had one bar, you had, maybe one place to go hang out, and that was about it. Bozeman, it was a little bit better, but the majority of the time, you were just outside constantly in Montana because I couldn't afford to do anything else there. And so here,
and Connor, talk to him too about if you wanted to go to what you guys were talking about, the heart of Northern Colorado, because you're less than an hour everywhere to Rocky Mountain National Park, Denver.
Yep, and that's kind of what I've really liked, and that's probably where I look at my locations. I've always been a commuter in my life. No matter where I go, I'm 20 minutes from everything, and I think that's the biggest benefit of it. I don't need to be right in the heart of where all the attention's at. I just want to be in the heart of where you can go out and have fun. If you want to go down to Longmont for their Friday night car shows, if you want to go up to Fort Collins for their concerts and for their comedian shows, or for food truck drives at City Park, you can be there within a matter of just 10 to 15 minutes. Going down to Denver, you're an hour away. Add an extra 20 minutes to that for Fort Collins, and you're going to be spending more time driving if you live in Fort Collins, if you want to go anywhere else other than Fort Collins, than if you live in Loveland, where even if you're a student up at CSU, I was a student living in Loveland going to CSU for 2.5 years, and some people would sit there and say, oh, that's too far to drive. It's 15 minutes to CSU in the morning, and for me, to be far away from that was just by far the best thing to do. And to me, you do run into professionals in Fort Collins and stuff, but I do find a more professional environment when I am here, and when I'm going out to bars, and when I'm going out to movie theaters. I'm surrounded with people who are 30 to 50-year-olds. And so it's just a totally different feel out here, a lot more relaxed.
The median age is what, 39 versus 29?
Yep. And so you're taking a big chunk of those younger people, which, thankfully for me, I don't get along with super young people. I don't get along with 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds. I get along with people who are 50 to 100 years old. So that's why, for me, Loveland, Colorado is a pretty sweet place.
All right, so there you guys have it. Appreciate you guys joining us on today's vlog tour. We walked around all of Loveland, the Foundry, the new development, talked to you guys about housing, education, comparison, contrast of Fort Collins versus Loveland, and why one might be better than the other. So if you are looking at exploring Fort Collins, Loveland, Northern Colorado, specifically Loveland, Zach and Connor are absolutely experts, know the area back and forth, and they can be a huge value to you and yours if you're looking at moving here, be a resource, boots for you on the ground, and know what's coming, what's going, and what's going to be a great potential investment if you're looking at buying here. So appreciate you guys watching. Again, give us a call, text, email if you're looking at buying, selling, or investing here in Northern Colorado and specifically Loveland. Until next time.
Like, subscribe, and share.
like, subscribe, and share is what Connor says, which I agree with. So if you enjoyed the video, give that a thumbs up. Let's go. All right, till next time.